Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another Quarantine Reads. If you've listened to some of the other Quarantine Reads, you know my name is Elizabeth, and I select all of the adult fiction for AADL. And I'm also an avid reader, and I've been reading a lot during quarantine with so much extra time at home. And so I love talking about books. I love hearing what others think about books and recommending books. So I just have thought it's been fun to share with you what I've been reading and kind of offer some of my thoughts on what I've gone through reading wise during this unusual and unprecedented time. So I have 4 more books to share with you today. I've read all of them. And I'm starting with this. I got it as an advanced reader copy, but it did get published in late April, so it is available now. This book is Valentine by Elizabeth Wetmore, and I loved this. It was such an unexpected great read. It's a debut novel for the author, and I'll just do what I usually do, which is read you what the publisher has to say and then kind of share my more in-depth thoughts. So this one says, Valentine is a debut that will upend your expectations in any number of ways, starting with the title. From the mouths of late 1970s Texas oil patch men, this endearment comes out sinister. An insult, an insinuation, a threat. We know the world men like this inhabit. American literature is strewn high and low with their stories. The grasping, aggrieved work of theft, violence, and nation building. How unexpected, then, that while this is their world, it's not their story. Instead, it's the story of how women live in that world. Elizabeth Wetmore gives us 5 characters you won't forget. Mary Rose, a young mother shocked by the rape of a 14-year-old girl. Corinne, a depressed widow and an outsider who has given up on the world. Deborah Ann Pierce, a wise, spunky, spiritual sister of Scout Finch. Carla, a young waitress. And central to it all, Gloria Ramirez, who walks away from a brutal rape and starts a journey to save her own life. It's hard stuff, and the miracle of it is that it burns itself into a kind of transcendence. That is all on the author, from the beautiful writing to her love for the characters and the land to a plot you won't soon forget. Welcome to this wonderful new American voice. And it's true. It was, the book starts out challengingly because a young girl, Glory, is assaulted by one of the oil patch men in West Texas. The book takes place in the 1970s in West Texas. But from then, it's really just a very powerful story of how women overcome the trials that they experience and how this assault of Glory connects many of the women who live in this small Texas town and in some ways allows them to become closer to one another and to find themselves in ways that they didn't expect. And the writing, like was mentioned, is absolutely beautiful. There's these sentences that are just, I felt like, even though I've never been to West Texas, I could feel the land around me. I could see it in the way that the author's able to write about it. And she did grow up in West Texas, so she knows what that space is like, and can really capture it well in her writing. And there's so much that this book touches on, too. I mean, it touches on race relations in the 1970s in Texas. It talks about, obviously, the relationship and what expectations were between men and women at that time, which carries over today. And just what it was like to live in deep poverty, and how when this oil boom came to West Texas, people were excited to have the opportunity to actually make more money, but also it affected them and the land and the people that they knew in ways that were shocking and unexpected. Really just a great read, and it is told in alternating chapters, so there's different narrators for each chapter. But it's not difficult to follow at all. It's just really beautifully written, and despite its tough subject matter, I actually found it to be ultimately uplifting. So I'm highly recommending this, and it is available now, having come out last month. And so that is Valentine by Elizabeth Wetmore. And next, here is an interesting book. This is not a super recent publication. It came out in 2019, so it's not brand new. This is The Dreamers by Karen Thompson Walker. And it's a fascinating premise, the story of this book. So I'll tell you the premise first, and then I can share my thoughts. It says, an ordinary town is transformed by a mysterious illness that triggers perpetual sleep in this mesmerizing novel. One night in an isolated college town in the hills of Southern California, a first-year student stumbles into her dorm room, falls asleep, and doesn't wake up. She sleeps through the morning into the evening. Her roommate, May, cannot rouse her. Neither can the paramedics, nor the perplexed doctors at the hospital. When a second girl falls asleep, and then a third, May finds herself thrust together with an eccentric classmate as panic takes hold of the college and spreads to the town. A young couple tries to protect their newborn baby as the once quiet streets descend into chaos. Two sisters turn to each other for comfort as their survivalist father prepares for disaster. Those affected by the illness, doctors discover, are displaying unusual levels of brain activity, higher than has ever been recorded before. They are dreaming heightened dreams. But of what? Written in luminous prose, The Dreamers is a breathtaking and beautiful novel, startling and provocative, about the possibilities contained within a human life, if only we are awakened to them. So I was interested in picking up this because it's such a fascinating premise to me, this concept of a disease that just triggers sleep and these very, very vivid dreams, and it's mysterious. No one knows where it came from or what causes it. But I actually found this very difficult to read during the current pandemic that we're living in. It was honestly, despite being a very different disease, it really hit a little too close to home for me, where all the characters in the book, once they kind of figure out that it seems like this disease is contagious, they're all wearing masks, they're staying in their houses. At one point, someone approaches someone else and someone says, "Oh, stop there, we need to be 5 feet apart." And it was kind of eerie to me to be trying to read this right now. And so I think that did cloud my judgment of the book, because I was just very eager to get through it, and I wasn't really enjoying it because it just was feeling too real. But I do think it was a very good book, and it was well written, and it was almost kind of thrilling. It was very edge of your seat. What's going to happen? Are they going to figure out what causes this disease? Are they going to be able to help people who have it? What are these vivid dreams that people are having? What does that mean? Lots of questions, and it definitely is a quick read, I think, for those who are able to not take it too much to heart. And it is, it's in some ways it's a scary book, thinking about this pandemic, and some of the people who fall asleep, this is not a spoiler, but some of them wake up and some of them don't. They end up dying in their sleep, and there doesn't seem to be really any rhyme or reason to who does what. So it's kind of terrifying, but also there's a lot of lessons about resiliency and kind of what it means to be human in here, which was really kind of profound. So I am recommending this if you think that you'd be interested in reading it right now. And lots of authors. Emily St. John Mandel, who wrote Station 11, has a recommendation for it on the back. So it's gotten a lot of good reviews. So that is The Dreamers. And I read a very challenging book recently. This is a new one, My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. It's been somewhat controversial, but also it's been quite a sensation. It was published earlier this year, and it's been a bestseller in several countries. And it's about a young girl who was abused by her older teacher. So let me just read the summary here. In the year 2000, bright, ambitious, and yearning for adulthood, 15-year-old Vanessa Y becomes entangled in an affair with Jacob Strain, her magnetic 42-year-old English teacher. Amid the rising wave of allegations against powerful men, a reckoning is coming due in 2017. Strain has been accused of sexual abuse by a former student who reaches out to Vanessa, and now Vanessa suddenly finds herself facing an impossible choice. Remain silent, firm in the belief that her teenage self willingly engaged in this relationship, or redefine herself in the events of her past. But how can Vanessa reject her first love, the man who fundamentally transformed her and has been a persistent presence in her life? Is it possible that the man she loved as a teenager, and who professed to worship only her, may be far different from what she has always believed? Alternating between Vanessa's present and her past, My Dark Vanessa juxtaposes memory and trauma with the breathless excitement of a teenage girl discovering the power her own body can wield. Thought-provoking and impossible to put down, this is a masterful portrayal of troubled adolescence and its repercussions that raises vital questions about agency, consent, complicity, and victimhood. So, I found this book very, very difficult to read. With the advent of the Me Too movement, My Dark Vanessa is an extremely timely read, and I think an important read. But I think many people, especially anyone who has a personal relationship with abuse or assault, might struggle to get through this. It does an excellent job of showing the mental health repercussions that abuse can have on survivors. And it paints a very fascinating portrait of why survivors may struggle to come forward even after realizing and accepting that they were abused. The main character, Vanessa, she works really hard to try to convince herself that she consented to the abuse she experienced as a teen, because I think that it seems to help her process things if she feels like she had agency in what happened. Although that's understandable, it can be very frustrating for the reader because it's clear to us from the very beginning that Vanessa is a victim and that her teacher is a predator and a pedophile. And in one particularly painful scene, Vanessa actually defends him to other people when the school becomes suspicious that something is going on. Like I said, this has gotten a lot of attention. It's gotten a lot of mixed reviews, but I do think it's a very interesting contribution to the literature surrounding the Me Too movement. And it's a frustrating read, but I think a perspective that hasn't been shared as much in writing about the Me Too movement. How Vanessa just doesn't want to admit what happened to her, even though she knows in the back of her mind. And so it was interesting. There are currently 86 holds on the title at AADL, so add your name to the list if it sounds like something you would want to read. And I think that we're going to continue to hear about it, and that people will. I think it's an interesting book to talk about. I'm looking forward to meeting some other people who have read it so they can share their perspectives with me. So that is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Russell. And then lastly today, I have to share with you, I read this thriller, The Silent Patient. This is by, I don't know how to say this, I think it's Alex Michaelides, but I might be saying that last name wrong. And it was fun. This is also not a super new book. I think 2019 as well. Yeah. So last year, I read this in a day and a half. It was really quick. A lot of people, some of the reviews call it the perfect thriller. I didn't think it was necessarily perfect. I'll share with you what it's about, and then I'll go on. Alicia Berenson's life is seemingly perfect. A famous painter married to an in-demand fashion photographer, she lives in a grand house overlooking a park in one of London's most desirable areas. One evening, her husband, Gabriel, returns home late from work, and Alicia shoots him 5 times in the face and then never speaks another word. Alicia's refusal to talk or give any kind of explanation turns a domestic tragedy into something far grander, a mystery that captures the public imagination and casts Alicia into notoriety. The price of her art skyrockets, and she, the silent patient, is hidden away from the tabloids and spotlight at the Grove, a secure psychiatric unit in North London. Criminal psychotherapist Theo Faber is captivated by Alicia's story and jumps at the opportunity to work with her. His determination to get her to talk and unravel the mystery of why she shot her husband takes him down a path more unexpected, more terrifying than he ever imagined. A search for the truth that threatens to consume him. Shocking, thought-provoking, and deeply twisted, The Silent Patient is a spellbinding psychological thriller about violence, obsession, and the dark side of passion. So it was a good book. I thought it was very interesting. It was nice. The plot was new to me. The concept of this woman who commits a crime and then never speaks again, and then this psychiatrist who's trying to work with her and get her to talk and get her to try to be able to function in the world again, whatever that may mean. That's a concept that I haven't heard of. I actually, and I'm no genius, but I actually kind of figured out what was happening in this book fairly early on. Like the big twist comes very close to the end, but I felt like I had figured it out by halfway through. So that took away a little bit of the kind of the excitement once I figured out what was going on. And I think that maybe others probably figured it out sooner than the author reveals it as well. But it was interesting. It wasn't too, despite the concept about obsession and psychological thriller and all that, it wasn't super scary. I don't like really scary things, and I was able to read this before I went to sleep. So I didn't think it was like terrifying or anything, but it was exciting, and it was unique, like I said. So I liked that a lot, and I think this was a debut. Yeah, it's a debut novel too by this author, and he's previously a screenwriter. So I'm interested to see if this is going to get adapted for television or a movie. Yeah, so that was The Silent Patient. Definitely a quick read and a fun one during quarantine if you're interested in thrillers. So that is what I have for you today. This was The Silent Patient, My Dark Vanessa, The Dreamers, and Valentine, and all very different, all interesting. If I had to pick one to recommend, I would definitely recommend Valentine. That was just a beautiful and really moving read. So try to get your hands on that if it sounded interesting to you. And I hope to be back soon with some more book recommendations. And I'm still reading a ton, and I'm sure you are too. So tune in next time.